cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary.
Welcome to another episode of Legends of the Jumper Punch, and today we have a true legend.
Thanks, Robert.
Yes. Adrian Gallagher. How are you, mate? How's things?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us here.
Adrian Gallagher, it's fantastic to have you and on our show, and thanks very much for agreeing to this interview where we're going to go back in time and relive some of the great memories of your footy career.
No worries. Happy to do so.
Oh, this is going to be great. It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Well, seems like yesterday.
Yeah, well, while we're here, you said this is one of your special...
Well, I brought it out especially for you, Robert.
Yeah, I know.
But, that's my favourite memento or trophy. Trophy's probably a bit of
now
work.
Everyone's thinking like this is like the 1970 premiership cup, he stole it. This is 68 or something special like that, but no, what is it?
No, it's not. My runners up, I was runner up in the best and fairest in 1961 in Carlton Fifths. The under 15s, the under 15s, yes.
And that meant a lot to you at the time?
Oh, well, I thought I'd arrived.
Well, you did, because it showed, but that's amazing too.
Yeah, no, it was, we'd moved from the country, my father and mother and my three sisters and brother from Yarram down in South Gippsland, and moved up to Mount Royal Hospital for the aged, which is in Parkville there. Mm-hmm. And Dad made the big announcement that the closest team that we had to follow, because that was the most important thing, was Carlton, which was just up the road, Poplar Road, past the zoo.
Yes,
and
still there.
over Royal Parade and to Princess Park. So
they say that Carlton at the moment is a bit like a zoo, isn't it?
Oh, we won't. We lost last night.
I always asked my dad if he could take me to the zoo, and he said, if they want you back, they'll ask for you.
Well, the biggest one was first trying to go to sleep, because we had the house on the premises there, and just near Royal Golf Cart. Yeah, the Royal Golf Cart type of thing there. Oh, yeah. And but I couldn't go to sleep. The lions were roaring. It was down in Yarram. It was pretty quiet.
Yes.
Could you really hear the lions?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was that a Fitzroy zone down there?
Well, had zoning back then. So at Park Street there, on that side of the road, the Cirrus Hands say type side of the road, that was North Melbourne.
Yes.
And so on the Mount Royal side for the aged, and Tarana Boys Home, and the Commonwealth Settlement Laboratories, and the zoo.
Parkville, basically,
the zoo. I was recruited out of there.
Yeah.
So I think I was the only player recruited out of
that zone.
That area.
Well, lucky you didn't venture into the Cirrus Sands Hotel.
Well, that would have been North Melbourne. I wouldn't have gone in there.
Wouldn't have gone. The same position. I think he was living there, and he was on the border of North Melbourne, and he was like one street away from becoming a North player.
Yeah,
so it's funny how that used to work.
Oh, it was.
What about the story? Was it with who was it with? Was it Shane Robinson? Was it?
Which one?
The story where he said, they offered to buy the house across the road.
Oh yes,
really?
Yeah. So they could get him and his brothers across, and the dad refused to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
He refused to do it, so he became a Carlton player. So that's amazing. Yeah. So when you were a kid, you always played football. You played cricket too, didn't you?
Yes.
You were a good cricketer.
Went up and played cricket in Carlton. Schoolboy sides in the fourth. Started in the fourth there.
Were you
batsman? a bit of a bowler, leg spin.
So the all-rounder.
Yeah, the all-rounder.
Yeah, the all-rounder.
If I mentioned pretty well,
That's good. Never got any sort of further down the track with your cricket?
Well, got up to the district.
Oh, district. Well, that's a very
first, and we won a premiership in 1968-69 with Barney Jones, Dean Jones's father. He was captain and coach.
Right.
And
hence
why Dean Jones played for Carlton Cricket.
How much did you make?
I'll talk about the second innings. I made 44.
I thought he was going to say about 20 shekels.
But I had to...
That's all right. 44s are good.
I had to... because it coincided with the football season. It was 1968-69 season, so we'd won the premiership in 68, which was a pretty big one.
Of course.
Then I hadn't played any of the practice match coming into 69, but I'm playing because I'm playing cricket, in the district. Yeah. Well, Brass wasn't too happy about it.
No, he wasn't happy with that.
And he said, well, if you don't play the last half of the last practice match, you're not playing the first game. This is after I'd played in the first premiership for 21 years and all this sort of thing. Yeah. So I was batting. And it was the only time I threw my wicket away, so I had to dash in the car and get to Princess Park to play in the last half. I could get a game the next week. So I played, but it was
talk about a juggling act.
Well, you had to do it. It was very hard.
Did you remember to take the box out before you started playing footy?
Yeah. Well, Perce Jones, kept on saying at half time, and he was there, and I had a few bruises down the leg, and he's going. He had a bit of a stutter. And he's been hit, look. And I'm going, don't worry about it, Peter. And Brass is going, don't take any notice of him. He's bloody lucky to be here, So I've just played in the premiership for the cricket, and Brass has given me a rundown on it.
Hey, just quickly, we just got a Magpie supporter behind us watching it.
Well, they've turned up for a feed. I could feed them now. There's 5 of them.
Really? Yeah, they'll get fed?
Well, they're waiting for me. They're waiting for me to feed them.
They're waiting for next week, just quietly, I reckon. Aren't they?
They are.
Well, we play them next. Well,
we do.
We're doing a thing on 1970. They come around and I tell them about it. Give them a bit of a rundown on what happened at half time and everything.
We'll get to that famous year of 1970 very soon. But let's just go back to the very start. How did you go in your first year? 1964 was the first year that you played senior football.
Yeah.
Who was your coach? What was the team going like at the time? And
well, it was.
Was yours a baptism of fire, or
Carlton's 100th year, 1964.
Yes.
Which had a huge celebration of centenary year. Yeah. But the unfortunate, it was Ken Hands was coach. The great Ken Hands.
Yeah. Great man, Ken.
But we finished 10th, which was the lowest Carlton had finished to that stage.
In the centenary year, we finished the lowest ladder position in our history. My goodness. So did Ken last any longer after that?
Well, could you imagine they weren't too happy?
No, exactly. How did you find him? I mean, we all know he was a great player for Carlton for many years and coached us for a number of years too. But how did you find him as a coach?
Oh, I thought I was 17 and going on 18, and I thought he was fantastic, because he was a legend of the club. And
did he have a real aura about him?
Yes,
spoke
definitely.
To the players.
His reputation from 1945. The bloodbath that was his first year. He was very impressive, but I think really fortunately. Your timing of your career, and I was there right at the start of Barras coming in 1965, and it was like it was Hollywood stuff.
Because of course we had a change of president. This is what really caused the change of culture, I guess you could call it, at the club back at the end of '64. We'd had the centenary year, but a disappointing finish, and a realisation that we had to do something dramatically different to get us on the right course.
Well,
obviously we'd been 17 odd years without a flag since 1947.
Yeah.
And who made the decision to change course there?
Well, they say it was who put it together was Laurie Kerr, former excellent centre man player.
He was
who was a very influential person in Melbourne.
My word.
And
the family is still very influential in the club today.
That is true. That is true. And he, put together a ticket. So I think this is what you're getting at, Vince.
Yes.
Which you talk about.
No, that's all right.
Is that you could form a ticket, or a group of people that you could put up for election, and if the members weren't happy with what's been going on and this sort of thing, very democratic, you were able to come up with.
Yeah, I believe we did have democracy at Carlton.
Well, I think that's there's your example of it, and part of the platform, or presenting it, was that we were going to bring Ron Barassi as captain and coach by the George Harris-led team.
So George put himself up as the.
I think it went Laurie Kerr sort of. He picked George as.
That's what I mean. He was anointed.
Yeah. I think it was Laurie Kerr who put it together. Put it together and went after Barras, as part of the whole package.
Yeah.
And
so Laurie's the power broker.
Yes.
George becomes the front man.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And other influential people. There's other very influential people as part of the ticket to do what particular jobs that they were doing, like finance. There was people on finance. There was people on football. Jack Rout was famously picked to be the chairman of selectors, and he became legendary. He was absolutely the right person to pick as in charge of as football director type of thing.
So they had the right square pegs in the square holes.
Yeah, well, they came as a package type thing, and the people and the supporters could vote on it.
Yep.
Were they willing?
Yeah.
So really, it's a perfect example of what the point that you talk about that happened, and it's the most famous. It changed the direction of the Carlton Football Club.
Yeah.
From to a very progressive. It changed the whole situation completely, and Carlton became the leaders again.
Were they?
I was going.
No. Well, that's interesting. So you get these people in, and it's just a completely different board. And that, how does that come across to the whole team? Like the strength and the leadership of them. Did that come through? Like, is that?
Oh, definitely.
Was that palatable to the playing group?
Well, the fact that they got Ron Barassi, I meant.
It was a power move already.
Well, it was,
had they secured Barassi already, technically had him in their back pocket before they put themselves up as a ticket?
Well, I'm not.
Or was it just a sort of, this is what we're going to try?
No. Well, I think they would have had him.
Right.
I think they had him. Well, you couldn't have done it.
Because they put it up that Barassi.
You would have had to have him in. You had to have it sealed and deal.
So, was there any resistance from the previous president and the previous coaching, like Ken Hands, etc.? Were they resisting
they weren't happy.
Would you be happy?
It was a straight out.
Depends on whether you realise that your time's up or not, Rocco.
Yeah. No. They didn't go easy.
Right.
It was just a straight out. Who the supporters wanted.
Yep.
And this one put up a pretty good platform.
Yeah.
Up against the old one who just finished 10th.
Yes.
So really, I mean, politically, probably not the right word, but that was a good case. Yeah. They had a very good case.
I think you're right. 100%.
And it changed Carlton's history.
There's a coterie group that I've had a lot of history with called the Carltonians, which
that was their
formed
first
in 1964.
Year. That's exactly right.
A lot of influential parties there.
That's right.
They would have probably even, to some extent, formed part of the ticket.
They would have been behind the new regime, I would have thought, knowing the people involved.
So then Barassi comes along.
Yes.
You come along.
Well, did you know, by the way, that before we move on from there, did you know that George Harris spoke to Ron Barassi, got his agreement to come across, and then the following day Barassi got cold feet and changed his mind?
No, well, I didn't. I think probably Melbourne might have gone back at him, mightn't they, or something like that.
I think Barassi, sort of the gravity of what he agreed to do might have
Oh, was it?
Might have spooked him a bit, and then eventually George yet again reiterated the reasons why it was a good move for him.
It'd be interesting,
and
but
in the end, Barassi said, "You know what? You're right. I will come."
I think Laurie Kerr would have had. I think Laurie Kerr was the man.
Yeah.
If you
sure.
I mean, no, not taking much. George was the classic front person, but Laurie Kerr was the power.
Laurie might have put in a few sweeteners to make it.
Well, I think he would have. I think he would have. He changed prime ministers, and
exactly.
It's like changing the Carlton coaching job wouldn't be there'd be a ham sandwich for him.
Well, so did you come along?
I don't think
not really.
By the way, 60 odd years on, I don't think much has changed at Carlton.
Did you come along the same year as Barassi, or were you there?
No, I was there. I'd come up from the under 15.
Right, so what was that?
Early 60s?
60s, played in the under-19s premiership side. I played in the fourth, the thirds.
Slowly made your way up.
And came up.
So you went right through the so-called academy,
all the grades, you know, in
football and cricket. Do you think there's enough players in today's day and age that play enough underage football and go through these other systems, or are they expected to do senior football
it's...
a lot of your guys didn't start playing senior football until they were 20 or 21.
Walsh is 18.
Yeah.
18, when he came in and played. So
but he's an exception, isn't he? He's an exception compared to most recruits in terms of how at the level that he played from year one.
He gets in there, he's ready.
Well, I'm just... well, I mean, that's how I did it anyway. Yeah. I mean, that was the pathway.
Yes.
It's just slightly different today, but if you were good enough to play at that age, you'd get a game then. Type of thing.
Yep.
And
you were.
How was Barassi? So how when he came in, what did you notice? What was the difference straight away with Barassi, apart from the yelling and screaming? What was the difference?
Well, when you say the yelling, I mean that's an image type thing. Oh yeah. No, look, he was both. He was also very personable, he took me to my girlfriend at the time I was at school, and he took me to different parties just on my own with my girlfriend, him and his wife, just to be friends, and so there was all different sides to Barassi. I mean, the image of him yelling and screaming,
that's what everyone
that's
shows.
what it looks at. Well, it's not right. It's not. He combined the whole aspects of it. I mean, like back in those days, you did what your parents said. You did what your school teacher said. And you did what your coach said.
Yes.
So, and that was, your teacher growled at you, growled at you then. And your mum and dad,
And out of love. They did it out, but they wanted the best for you.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, people, that image, was there, but it was only a very small part of Barassi's makeup.
Do you think Ron used to yell and scream and use that fire and brimstone style to try and challenge players to see how they'd respond to something like that?
Well,
and did he sort of measure a player's ability to take things on board and take it the right way, or conversely, if he cracked the sads and went off and sooked in a corner somewhere, well then in his mind that player's not up to being challenged?
Well, I think he did use it in that way of, because he said once that, people, even players today that played, when we get together, still are not happy about the way Brass spoke.
Oh, look,
I'm saying today.
I know.
And we're in our 70s.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, you got to be kidding. Get over it, will you?
Some people have got soft inner shells and hard inner shells.
And I would take the time to explain to them. I have a couple of close friends, but well, in my opinion, anyway, I'm giving my. They can have theirs. That's fine.
Yeah.
But Barassa's attitude. Look, he said it once that Norm Smith was like that to him.
Yes,
and
very much so.
And it was that he wanted you to come back at him. He wanted you to say, "Well, I'll show you." Type of thing. It was one of the parts of coaching tools, which back then. It was used as a motivation, really. And I mean, underlying it all is the actual fact that if you can't handle me having a go at you, how are you going to be in 1970 at half time when you're 44 points down? How are you going to respond to me?
Good point.
Telling you to handball and take risks at every opportunity if you can't handle pressure?
Yeah.
Now that's what pressure is.
That's
100%.
very, very good.
So how about taking it the right way and coming back and showing me? But the blokes who played in 1970, after having those years of experience of brass discipline them and responded magnificently.
Yeah.
And he'd been there. That was his 6th year of coaching the side as well. So well established. Initially, when he came, he'd never coached before. He'd come straight out of playing, so he became a playing coach for 4 years at the club.
Yes.
Ended up playing 50 games as a player.
Yes.
What was it like to play under a captain coach?
Yeah. Oh, look, he was awesome. Like you're overawed by him. I mean, seriously.
Was he out there directing traffic a lot like a coach would, even though he was playing the game as well and meant to beat his own opponent?
Yeah, it seemed pretty natural to me. I mean, my recollection of it, I meant there was nothing. I meant he led by example, and which was the best. Probably that was, I think it may have helped him early, that he was able to lead by example type of thing. He would show you how to do it as well as being able to tell you type of thing. So, but I think towards the end where he was finding it a bit difficult to keep up with the pace of the game and that sort of thing, and that's he it was the last game before 1968, the premiership, that Jack Rout, more or less, I think the match committee, I'm not 100% sure on this, but more or less sort of said, Ron, I think you should, along those lines, I don't know how, it would have been pretty courageous.
Do you remember how he came back the following year and played just one game so he could play his 50th?
You know why?
Tell me.
Was so his son could play for Carlton if he wanted to.
Of course.
Because it was 50 games at the time, wasn't it?
Back then it was 50 games.
Little did he know that his son had absolutely no interest in playing football.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
he
was thinking about.
You never know.
Actually, it was a serious thing at the time. I remember it vividly. It was Prince's Park.
Imagine how many more premierships Carlton would have had if John Lloyd had played a few more games.
Well, that's right.
And could have recruited his son Matthew, and might have been one of our
would have been handy.
Would
have been handy.
A few more games,
It's amazing. But okay, so you've established yourself as a young player. Obviously, played in your first year at pretty much just on 18 years of age was your first game, and
it was against Collingwood.
Yep,
and it was a draw.
Oh,
was it?
Yeah, but the Prince's. They went on.
I was going to ask you, what was your memories of your first game?
Oh, running down the race there out of the Heatley stand. I can still remember it to this day. Magnificent. The roar of the crowd. I hadn't heard anything like that. Running down that race there because after we'd played in the under 15s. In the morning, the whole family would go and watch Carlton in the afternoon and sit in the gardener stand.
Yes.
Yes. Dad got some seats, booked some seats. I don't know how he did it, but he booked some seats in the garden stand, and so I knew where my whole family was when I did the first lap running around.
Fantastic.
So I gave a sneaky little wave to my sisters and brother.
Isn't that nice?
So we organised it before it. I said, my younger sisters, and they thought it was pretty good.
How did you come to get the number 10?
Well, that Johnny James, who was a magnificent Carlton player, and
yes, one of our
Brownlow medalists.
One of our Brownlow medalists.
Yes.
In fact, by the time in fact, your first year, he would have been the only Brownlow medalist.
No, Bert Deacon.
Apart from Bert Deacon, yes. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of Gordon Collis won that year, 64.
Yeah, 64 he did too. Well, that's right.
So Bert Deacon, John James in 61.
Yeah. Well, John James retired at the end of 63 and went to Rutherglen as captain and coach. And as I said, it was the centenary year.
Yes.
And I was fortunate enough to be, given his number 10 and presented by Sir Robert Menzies at the the Southern Cross, which was a pretty big deal.
Was indeed.
Because the Beatles stayed there that year, so we thought that was pretty.
There you go.
Same as the Beatles.
They were up in the balcony getting away.
Fantastic. Yeah,
And,
how good's that?
But that was pretty. I mean, Sir Robert Menzies, was Carlton's number one ticket holder.
Did you remember how Robert Menzies used to get to Prince's Park and he had his own car space there and used to watch the game from behind the goals?
Oh,
that's almost unfathomable for most of us to even imagine.
Imagine that.
Well, he was pretty big.
Yeah.
But he loved Carlton.
He did.
I mean, it was genuine.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my early games. And you get a bit nervous before a game, so you go to the toilet for a quick to the urinal. And so I was there trying to relax, trying to build myself the game, not to get too nervous, And then there's someone next to me. I'm going, and they go, all of this, young Gags.
And that was it.
Well, I've looked up. I've gone to Robert Menzies. Well, I've immediately peed all over my leg. And I've gone, no. I said, thanks very much.
You know what? I can just imagine this shadow coming over the top of you with his eyebrows.
It was a bit overawed.
He had the biggest eyebrows, that man.
Having a piddle with Sir Robert.
Yeah,
but we also, another classic, just to go on him, that on Sir Robert was that on the trip in '72 when we did played the games at the Oval and everything like that.
Yeah.
He was back. He was ill at the time and in the hospital in Kew, and so it was organised. So we represented him. He was warden of the Cinque Ports, and the bloke before him was Sir Winston Churchill. So the pretty big deal.
Huge name.
And Nick rang up. I was in the room, and he's gone, look, we've been asked to represent Sir Robert Menzies down at the warden of the Dover Castle, at the warden of the Cinque Ports. We want you to come. I said, yes. And he also said, don't tell Perce. I said, all right. Terrible thing to say. I'm sorry about that, Peter. But anyway, so we've gone down there and seen them and everything like that. We've got back and we've had Brother Luke, who was a physiotherapist, was looking after Sir Robert. So we've had to go. We've been summoned, the ones who went, to go in and report on our efforts as warden, representing him as warden of the Cinque Ports.
Really?
So we went and saw him in hospital.
Yeah.
And actually, Perce was allowed to go in and see him in hospital. There was me, Brian Quirk, and Perce, and we've gone into his room and. All Perce could say was, God, look at the bottle of scotch, it's nothing left. That's all he could come up. Anyway, so we've gone out in the balcony and Sir Robert's gone, young Perce, you sit there, young Gags, you sit there, and Quirky, you sit there, all right?
Yep.
So we sat there and had about an hour with Sir Robert Menzies.
How good's that? Who came up with the nickname Gags?
Well, it was down in Yarram.
Was that a common
I was little
for
Gags.
anyone called Gallagher?
Well, down in Yarram it was.
Right, okay.
Because it was only us.
Right, yeah.
But my dad, Frank Brew, the legendary, he ended up being the curator at Carlton. He was the legendary footballer down in Yarram and cricketer.
Yeah.
Famous, legendary sports person. He called my dad Gags, and my brother and I were little Gags, and I was little Gags. So it's I don't know how, but it's just sort of.
Were you always a rover when you played footy in the
junior sides? I played in the centre. And rover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought you were a bit tall for a rover.
Yes, I was in those days. Wayne Richardson and myself were both around 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
They're about. They're about 195 these days, the Rovers.
Yeah,
Like 6'6".
Well,
Yeah, well, look at like people like Cripps and that.
He's not a rover. He'd be a midfielder, but
Bontempelli. Well, they're
they're
on ball. They're on ball.
They're on ball midfield rovers.
I mean, they call them on ball.
I think they just don't use the word rover anymore.
no, they don't really, do they?
But it's on baller.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Even Brody Grundy's considered to be an
Well, even
on
like the ruckman, like at the time.
Well, John Nichols,
how tall was he?
6'2".
Yeah,
Right.
not very tall for a ruckman.
Remember this time in the hotel in Royston down Richmond there, and I don't know why, but anyway, Tim Watson walked in and he wanted to use the phone. And he's come up, it was early, and he's wanted some change for the phone. I've been a bit overawed, Tim Watson, and I've looked at him and he's standing. I said, how tall are you? He said 6'2.5". I've gone, God, John Nichols was that.
He's 6'2", that's right.
But Nick was very quick and agile,
And strong.
He
had a trunk,
that's how he would play today. He would adapt perfectly today.
And how did you find roving to the great man? He was an awesome ruckman.
Well, what was... You really put them together in a way. I mean, how fortunate was I to have John Nichols, one as the ruckman, and Sergio Silvani as the ruck rover. I mean, Serge was as important as Nick, in the side and in the leadership. I mean, he was magnificent, Sergio Silvani. I mean, he was my favourite player, and when I was playing in the underage sides, he was my favourite, and to play alongside him.
Wow, yeah.
He was awesome. And with Nick, there was a great understanding there, and Perce was also a very good tap ruckman.
Good tap ruckman.
Yeah,
yes,
and
he
then
was.
And he in the forward pocket there, he kicked a couple of bags of 7. If a ruckman in the goal square kicked 7 today. God, they go berserk, wouldn't they?
They wouldn't do.
They go berserk.
So you three definitely, you formed this
trio.
I mean, you can't team of the century, 1, 2, 3, aren't you?
Yeah, well, as I say, I was pretty fortunate to be with those guys.
I don't think there's any other club in their team of the century they had the ruckman, the ruck rover, and the rover that all played together in the same era.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking, of course, but I mean, we played. That was the line-up in 2 premierships, 2 famous 68 and 70. So, and we played a lot of games together in that time.
How would you do you discuss it? Like, what's the thing? You're sitting there, you discussed it with John. Do you know where to stand? Is there little signs? Like, because he hits you a lot of times. I watched some highlights. He was hitting you a lot of times,
Well, so, where he, because he hit with his left hand. His dominant hand with his left hand. He'd palm with his left hand. And you'd change it around, like you'd start in a neutral type position and, like where he could lay it in the front, out the back type thing. So you're trying to make it harder for someone tagging it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was just really an understanding, playing together. Like what...
Is it unspoken understanding?
That's right. You don't say anything.
So it's not like you practice these things.
He had those steely eyes and all he had to do
so there was
all he had to go was...
Maybe there was a little bit of a look or something you knew what he was going to do.
Well, it was which way you'd interpret.
Yeah.
Was it going to be out the back?
Yeah.
Or was it front or side type thing? So... And if people say there's not an advantage in having a good ruckman, I mean, I don't understand it because it's not right, and especially in big games and finals when there's nothing in it. Yeah. I mean, everyone's going flat out.
100%.
Everyone's.
So you get that little bit of advantage in it.
It's an edge where you can have that just a fraction. It makes a difference. Yeah. It's like when we were saying about, breasts, if you can't take me, you can't play in pressure finals. Well, if you've got a good ruckman and there's good understanding with today on ballers, it's an edge. Yeah. And you do find that, I think so anyway.
Can you explain to me why there is this categorisation of ruck rover and rover. What's the differences between
Well, I
those
mean,
two
that's
positions,
an
and
old. That's
why
old-fashioned.
do they have such terminology?
But that's old-fashioned now.
I know that, but
That's-
even back then,
now
if you go back then,
Oh,
what
no,
was
you
the
can
difference
understand
between
it.
the role of a ruck rover versus a rover,
Well, it
and a
took
ruckman versus a follower?
When I first started watching and back to my in the morning, hey, had two ruckmen on the ball.
Yeah,
Had Murray Sankey and John Nichols on the changing. They changed in the back pocket
Yep.
with Brian Buckley,
yep,
and he's a ruckman. You go to the forward pocket. They changed in the forward pocket with Ken Greenwood.
Right.
He was a ruckman. I mean, they had two ruckmen then and a rover. So Brass was the first of the ruck rovers
okay.
type
And then
position.
Serge Silvani took over from him pretty much.
Well, basically, each side developed one.
Yeah,
Essendon had Huey Mitchell type
Yes.
thing,
Yeah.
So
Big bigger, is it?
it's evolving. It's evolved. The game evolving.
Yeah.
Norm Smith developed Barasses, that and then the other sides are going. Oh, they won. He played in 6 premierships, so we might have
not bad.
and usually copying the best form of flattery, and
Yes, exactly.
and that's how they change. So it evolves, doesn't it?
Does indeed.
Really.
Yeah.
So Barassi's coaching you guys, and obviously you can see that there's a gradual improvement from the minute he arrives in 64, 65. For the 65 year, that was his first year as a coach. 66, 67, we're gradually improving, and in 68, it all came together and we broke our 21-year premiership drought. How did that feel? That was your first grand final and ended up being a successful one.
Well, 21 years it was since Carlton had
That
won
was
the
the
premiership.
biggest at the time, wasn't it?
So
the longest one.
Oh, well,
Do you remember the day? It was a pretty blustery sort of a...
it was very
windy day?
very northerly wind, and the stands weren't as big as they are today.
Exactly.
So
Low
had
scoring game?
Well, it's the first 7 goals to 8 goals. It's the first time ever in a grand final. In a
It's the only time ever
Only time ever
that a winning side scored less goals than the losing side.
That's right.
7-16 to 8-5.
I'm not sure on the points.
Sorry, 7-14.
I never,
Yeah,
7-14, 56
Brian
to
Kekovich
8-5, 53.
Brian Kekovich kicked 4 goals.
Yes, he did.
4 out of our 7.
And he was a very good kick for goal. I wish he could teach Harry a bit there on the left foot, but that's another story. What the main thing is, what you remember, really. I know it was fantastic. Celebrations were great. Was the joy that it gave the people, supporters. You know, like what you felt. I mean, when you get older, that you realise, I think I've talked about that question type of thing, or what do you remember? And really, it's the support, the people, Carlton people.
Fans.
I really term it in that, the Carlton people, the enjoyment you could see. It's relief initially. And, people think, could be...
I've said that. Not that I played, I remember 95 for me, just quickly. Like when we won it, like I was there and we won it, and it was, the first thing I felt was relief. And then I've asked players and they've said the same thing. Now you've just said it again, it's relief. It's relief.
Well, that's right. I mean, God, I've
finally got there.
I've often thought, how would Collingwood players feel? God, a couple of them played 5 losing. I meant the one that you remember is 1969 when we lost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one that
Burns.
the one that hurts, and the one you remember.
Yeah.
The other ones is relief and then happiness
and joy
but the other one is on the supporters, the joy of the people, your friends and family, and the joy that they get out of it, comes through to yourself, which really makes. If you ask me the emotion of it, that's what you feel, that the enjoyment that you've given or achieved to give to somebody is really the overwhelming thought on it.
You would have seen it too, because at night you would have all gone out for a dinner dance or something? What do you do?
Glass of orange juice.
There would have been a lot of people around.
And then back to the ground, which was always
Oh,
a
you
big
still
one.
went back to the ground?
Yeah, everyone. Well, the supporters were there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, 1970 was something different again, in that they ran replays of it out the front of the social club, because they had the social club going. Well, it was like the biggest drive-in of all time. I mean, there was, it was bigger than Ben-Hur, playing replays of it every night of the week.
Because those days there, it's not like you could go home and watch a replay. Like, it was a rare thing, yeah.
Well, that's right.
They
Didn't have Foxtel or
didn't have
anything.
Foxtel, exactly. In 68 too, I reckon another bloke who really helped you was Sidney Jackson. But he didn't get to play, did he?
No.
He was a runner. They got him down there.
Well, imagine, he had to stand out for a year.
Yeah, he did too, yeah.
I mean, I can't quite work that out. With all Carlton's power and influence, influence probably the best word, and I would nearly even say money, where to be. How they never. We went over and played a practice match in Bunbury to try and get the clearance through. And still they couldn't get it.
No, they weren't allowed to play.
And so he was the runner.
He was the runner.
But that was clever of Brassy, wasn't it, to use him in that way?
Well, I mean, it was huge not playing for a year at that age.
But it made him feel part
Oh,
of it.
yes.
At least he had a practical part to play. You hear a lot about players that miss out on playing in a premiership through injury or suspension or poor form. They got dropped maybe leading in. They don't feel part of that team.
Oh, no, that's right.
Yet Sid's probably one of the few exceptions that would be able to say, hey, at least I felt part of what happened on that day because I had a role to play.
He's an exceptional person.
And he still is.
And actually, the next year in 1969, his first game was against St Kilda down at Moorabbin.
Yep.
Anyway, so go up to the first about Nick hits it, I've got it covered, it's going in the right area, I'm just about to grab it. All of a sudden he's going whoosh. One bounce, two bounces, straight through the middle. Sid Jackson playing his first game.
Wow.
I've gone, all right, he's probably a bit, first game. First game, not bad. He's allowed to do it, Anyway, the second one comes up.
Let the kid go.
Yeah. First game, I'll let him go, Second, Nick is, I'll fool him. I'll go Nick out the back on the other side, type thing. And I'm ready to go again. And what? One bounce, two bounces, goal. Out of the centre. Everyone's going berserk. I've got to do something.
You're thinking, am I going to get a game this
week? Actually, it's funny when I'm saying this with Sid, and Sid loves it when we're talking. And so I go up to Sid and I go, hey, I'm the first rover here. You're the centre man. He goes, oh, sorry.
You'd actually say, I'm sorry. Look at that. It's
we laugh about it.
How much of a gentleman is he?
He's
just so polite, graceful, and he played that way on the field.
Yes.
He was an absolute fair player.
Look, he copped heaps. Got him.
Did you ever hear him cop
but he could handle himself.
Did you ever hear him cop any sort of racist taunts from other players?
Yes. Actually, if they talk about that, I mean, what kid Sid went through, I mean, seriously. And he handled it magnificently. And he was tough. He could look after himself.
Yeah, he did.
And really, I mean,
Great story.
How he's handled himself. He's magnificent.
Yeah,
he is. We love him. We interviewed him last year.
Actually, we're going to do it again because the first one.
Yeah, we're going to do it again because last time we took him to a cafe and forgot that, hey, he's a pretty quietly spoken guy. And with all the coffee machines and people around us, it was pretty hard to hear him. But we might get him back again and relive that.
Have you mentioned that one about St Kilda?
Yeah, we might ask him
his
about
first game. He'll laugh. He'll start laughing.
So 69, you go through the heartbreak of a grand final loss. So what's the contrast there? I mean, the obvious contrast is one's relief and joy, and the other one's heartbreak.
Right. Well, like
how did
this is where it can go. This is where it can go either way. I mean, 68 we win by 3 points,
Correct.
On a windy day.
Yeah.
70, with 44 points down at half time, we get up and win.
Yeah.
Well, 69 was the one where we were the favourites type thing, and
that's right.
we
got done.
We got beaten.
Did they have the wood over Carlton for the majority of that?
Oh no, they were
era,
great games. Not really. I wouldn't have thought they were just great games. They were
great rivals.
They were fantastic games. They were great pressure.
Yeah,
and both sides had magnificent players. I mean, like Royce Hart and Bruce Stool. I mean, and they played on each other, not like today where they all go up the ground.
No, they stayed on each other pretty much all day.
Well, that's right. And Jezelenko, imagine that, and they're all going for their marks. There's no flooding or all that sort
and
of
no
thing.
holding back.
They were great games. That's how I'd remember that they were great games, great pressure games.
Yes. So it was really because Essendon really weren't in the picture, too often. But it was really Collingwood, Richmond, Carlton in those years there.
Essendon
was still okay.
They were around, but
we beat them in 68.
The main ones were what you said.
You play Collingwood, then you play Richmond. You play Collingwood again.
Yeah.
Richmond.
See, 68 we played Essendon.
Yeah, you did too. Essendon. That's right.
I mean, it was just the different strategies, and I mean, the classic came in 72 when Richmond thought they were fitter than us, and would have, could outscore us from 69. They believed that they ran over us in 69. Yeah. Well, one of the things at half time was that we remember, the wall yelling out, remember 69, because that's, when you ask, you get asked about what do you remember about grand finals and premierships. Well, the only one you can say is 1969 when you lose. That's the one that hits you.
Why do you think you lost that? You were favourites and fancied to win.
They played. They were a very good side.
Did we do anything that we, could have done a lot better in a sense, or did we play to our capacity and simply get beaten by better?
Nichols was carrying an injury, which was a big one. I think they played well, and basically were beaten by the better side on the day. Really, I mean, there's not much you can. There's no big reasons, that
they just got the right moments at the right times.
Well, and then the classic was in 72. We've attacked them from the start.
Yeah, yes, it's completely different.
And kicked 28 goals. I mean,
I know. They kicked what?
In other words,
no one gets near it today in today's football.
What John Nichols said to us, what John Nichols said to us about that game when we interviewed him last year, because we were celebrating the 50th anniversary last year of the 72 premiership, and he said we came to the conclusion that there was no way we were going to stop them from kicking 100 points. They were always going to get 100 points, doesn't matter what we do. So what we had to do was just kick a lot more goals than them. And the strategy was around basically outscoring them and getting off to a flying start and playing catch me if you can type football. And we had 25 goals up by 3/4 time. And he also made a few very key positional moves, such as himself up in the forward line, Robert Walls, Alex Jezelenko, and put Percy Jones in the first ruck, and that proved to be a masterstroke.
Yeah. Well, Richmond had beaten us 4 times that year.
Yeah.
And they believed, and it was from 69, they believed that their mindset...
They had the wood over us.
Well, in the actual fact that they could outscore us. They were fitter than us.
Yeah.
They believed that they were fitter than us.
Yep.
And as a result, would outscore us, go direct. Like Tommy Havey's game plan was get it long, kick it to Royce, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
And so that is what they believe. And what the main thing was to break that down, to break that belief down.
Of course.
And where...
Start planting the seeds of doubt in their mind.
Exactly. And that's why the attack on them early was so effective to break their belief that they'd built up over years.
Yeah.
You know, like, so we were ready for them. And like, as I was saying to you, you know, like at half time when I'd said, gee, we're going to go right. You know, players were yelling out, don't forget 69, you know, like, and that's...
Really?
No, as we were running out, down the race, at the half time.
Right, yeah.
It's still you know, to drive it home.
Of course, yeah.
Unreal. 2 years later, and like, was this in 72?
Yeah.
So that's like 3 years later, you've won a
And you're still talking
premiership.
about 69.
Yeah, you run a premiership in 70, like, and you're still talking about 69.
Well, because as I was, you know, coming across, you know, what do you remember? You know, you've asked me the question.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the winning ones.
Yeah,
you know, like
losing.
really, it's the one you lost, and why you lost. It hurts so much.
Yeah.
You know,
So this is to remedy that.
and I think if
So
you
imagine like losing those and not winning a grand final, how much they would lose. Like you were winning, you won them on either side.
At least you redeemed yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other teams don't.
And it still hurts. Like that's amazing. Yeah.
Well, you've got to. Well, it comes down to the coaching too, I think,
Yeah.
and the mindset of the club and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at in today's situation that sides. I'm just saying hypothetically, like South Melbourne say got thrashed last year in the grand final.
Yeah.
Well, they're finding it hard to come back this year.
100%.
So I think Fremantle, you know, they've
for all
found
the
it
young
hard.
people,
Adelaide have
When you
found
get
it
smashed
hard.
in the grand final, it takes a bit out of the team.
And
doesn't
for
it?
all the young people out there,
So
South
mentally-
Melbourne are Sydney.
I thought say South Melbourne, did I?
Yeah, you said South Melbourne, but that's how I remember it too. Yeah, South Melbourne.
Sorry.
No, that's
Sydney.
old habits die hard. The Swans.
The Swans. Yeah.
Anyway, so let's just go back a little bit before 72. Obviously, 69, you know, cut deep. We lost one that we didn't expect to lose. And what was the thinking and the planning and the strategy by Barassi going into 1970? Because that ended up being arguably the best year in the history of the Carlton Football Club. Certainly your best year as a player. You won a best and fairest in a premiership year. So well done on that.
Thank you.
And it all came together on that day against Collingwood, as we all know, that famous grand final. But what was the thinking heading into 70? So, you know, obviously you know you're good enough to make grand finals. You'd made the previous two. Did you expect to win? How did you plan to win?
Well, if you, you know, the year was, I've said, you know, in 69 that, you know, to recover from a losing grand final, you know, it took us a while to get in there, but we got into position then to challenge, you know, type year. You know, Collingwood were the leading side that year, you know, and we beat St Kilda in the prelim after they beat us in the second semi, so they went into overwhelming favourites into the grand final, and we beat.
But they hadn't played a grand final since losing to St Kilda 4 years earlier by a point in St Kilda's only premiership in 66. So do you think they would have been going in a little bit nervous compared to the Carlton side, which had played in the last two grand finals?
Well, you know, it's pretty... they were a good side. They were a very good side, Collingwood at that stage, you know, and look at, you know, they played well the first half and that sort of thing. And I mean, the main thing is, I mean, what you talk about really, what did Barassi say at half time? I mean, it really comes down, it was just,
before we get to half time, my question was originally about the year itself, before grand final. I'm talking about the year 1970. You're about to embark upon a new campaign. You just lost the 69 grand final. What was the feeling in amongst the team going into that year? Any different to anyone else?
Well, not really, not that I can recall. Okay. You know, like it's just, you know,
start the campaign.
Do you have that inner confidence knowing that you've made a couple of grand finals that, hey, you just expect to go into
well, we're confident we're a good side, you know, like there was type of thing, you know, and, you know, really it's...
what areas do you think you lacked in, if anything, that you needed to work on that year and plug holes, or did you recruit a player or two?
Look, there wasn't that much. it's not that much in it because we won 68.
Of course.
And we got beaten in the grand final in 69.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's not a bad side.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's not a bad. I'm not saying that at all.
No, I'm just explaining that it's not a bad side.
Yeah.
Brass is, really, Brass is at his peak in that time.
Yes, he was.
And, the year went along quite normally, really. I mean, in its way. I mean, I can't think of anything that stands out that...
okay, so let's get to grand final.
That it's got, I think it's because the grand final dominates the whole year.
Of course it does. So what were your thoughts in your mind? Half-time comes along, you're 44 points down.
Well, I came off the ground and I've immediately gone to the toilet because I knew Brass would be going off his head. So I had, I was experienced enough to know, don't be in the line of sight and just keep out of the road.
The line of spit.
Let him pick on a couple and then come out, type of thing.
Yeah.
And so when we've come out, he's called us, after he's got all the spittle had come out and everything like that, that coaches do.
Yeah.
And when they called us in, the first thing he said, look, which I thought was fantastic upon reflection, was that he brought us back to reality of saying, look, if you keep this up and you get thrashed by Collingwood for the rest of your life, you'll never forget it. Well, you're sitting there, feeling a bit sorry for yourself and everything like that. Yeah. You go, oh God, he's right, isn't he? Imagine for the rest of your life being thrashed by Collingwood in the grand final. So that was a reality check, and that's how he.
Wow.
That's how I felt. It just brought me back to reality. Of going, God, Jesus. And he said, well, we've got to do something.
He was pretty measured. He wasn't ranting.
Oh, no, not this stage. Yeah, this is what he was. This is where he was brilliant at it. One moment, and then the next would bring you back to reality.
Yeah. So all the boys were expecting the big ring.
Oh no, he'd been around. He'd done that.
Oh,
and then he got a cut.
I missed it. I was in the toilet.
So he bashed them all, but now he's lifting them up again.
And that's the young ones would get out the front. Get picked off.
Young Sid Jackson.
The inexperienced one. So he's gone, well, look,
that's clever.
The way to get back into it, we've got to take risks.
Yeah.
And the way to do that, we've got to play on at every situation. And our method of doing that is going to be through handball. We want you to take risks, run down the middle, take it on, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
In other words, crash or crash through.
No, exactly what we should be doing today.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. What we should be doing today. That's right.
Hope Michael Voss listens to this.
No, 100% what exactly.
He will. Hello, Vossy.
You can't play too safe. I mean, if you play safe, you're just going to get hit halfway across the road.
Well, we had nothing to lose.
Yeah. 44 points down.
He brought us back to reality. Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And went out and you didn't handball.
No.
Especially from the back line. Sergio Silvani, the oldest player, if you watch the replays, he handballs one from the back line. It was unheard of.
Yeah.
And one of the special commentators, when I'm listening back, because we're doing a thing on it next week, I think I told you this.
Yes.
And Tony Ongarella, the famous Fitzroy full forward who was the last man to do a place kick where he put on the ground.
The place kick.
For a goal. I saw it with my grandfather when I was about 10 or something like that.
Just quietly, Harry could probably just...
Maybe he can use that Harry Mackay.
Just put the place down there.
What a good idea.
Well, it can't be any worse.
Try anything. And Tony Ongarello's going, he's nearly, if you listen to him on the replay, he's nearly having a hemorrhage. What are they doing? Handballing from the back line. It's unbelievable.
But I'll tell you what, it worked.
Well, it just fell into place and...
do you think you just caught them on the hop? They didn't know how to handle it, did they?
No one did it then. No one... and that's... look, heaven forgive, but this is what Collingwood are doing at the moment.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, look, I'm being hyper, but if you watch you can see it.
Absolutely.
You can see it. It's what... You know, Peter Jones caught Des Tuddenham holding the ball in the forward pocket down towards the Richmond end.
Yep.
And he immediately handballed it to Swan Mackay, who came across the ground right up the middle. I think that's when Tony Ungarello nearly had a heart attack, but it fell into place. We got the run on, and then at 3/4 time, Brass has come out and said, "Well done." You won't, more or less saying, "Look, you won't be remembered for the rest of your life for being Collingwood." Well, it's apparently, look, there's a lot of versions on this. This can be from Dale Carnegie or, you know, like whatever have you. And that he's meant to say this, and because all we've gone is, no, we can win it now, you know, all that sort of thing. So that's what we were yelling at 3/4 time.
Psychology, eh? It works.
And you did win it.
And so it was, very fortunate.
How many times has that Collingwood supporter behind you listened to this story? Took his mates over?
Well, they're all the mates now. There's Bucks, Pendles. They're all there. They're all there.
They're all there listening to the
Guinea getting Ginnivan and you know, he's there ducking his head and everything. You know.
I love it. That's it.
They're wanting me to feed them again. You know, they say they owe me from 70. You know, like they owe me. I owe them a feed.
You do overfeed. Yeah.
Do you remember the celebrations after the 70 grand final?
Oh well, they do say, Vince, that if you can remember them, you weren't there.
That's right.
I'll tell you one thing I'd love to ask you. A lot of people wonder how on earth did anybody beat Alex Jesaulenko for the Carlton Best and Fairest in the year 1970, where he kicked 116 goals, the only player in the history of the club to kick 100 goals or more in one season. That was the only season he did it in, and yet you beat him in the Best and Fairest. It just goes to show you how damn good you were.
Well, I think I did apologise him after a few drinks that night. I've gone, oh look, I'm sorry. I don't know what they've. I don't know what they've done there, but. You know, he's a great man, Alex. Great man.
I was just going to ask you, what was your relationship with players like him and Bruce Dool and players like that went on to forge, you know, careers through the 70s after you'd left?
Oh well, that's probably one of the best things you got out of, you know, the friendships you made and that sort of thing. And
still keep in touch with them today?
Oh yeah. Well, I think. Well, not at the functions that we have, you know, I mean, this is where premierships come in.
Of course.
Or, you know, have a lot
I was going to say, don't you go to the 1969 grand final losing reunions?
Amazing we don't have those.
Yeah, they don't have those.
No, I don't think anyone has those.
But, Dooley was a classic. I remember him.
Johnny Gould.
You know, Gouldy, down on his farm down there in Western District.
Yeah.
What Barras, you know, when he came, you know, if you think about it, there was great leaders at the club then.
Yes.
You know, like Ian Collins.
Yes.
Wes Lofts.
Yes. My word.
John Gould.
Yeah.
Sergio Silvani, John Nichols. So imagine that leadership. I've probably forgotten maybe a couple, but like there's 5 I just named.
Do you think they were always
important.
going to be great leaders despite Barassi? Because
I thought,
or did Barassi make them?
I think he bought it.
Right.
Bought the best out of them.
Yeah.
And I would think that.
Was Nichols a good leader, a great leader when Ken Hands was the coach back
I was pretty young then.
Yeah.
I don't know, really, to be I was young.
Yeah, you'd only just got there in 64, that's right, that's true.
I wouldn't be able to comment on that one, but that's when I've thought about it, that which really complimented Brass at the time, was there was a good, very good, and those blokes went on pillars of Kevin Hall, went on, you know, of industry. There's another one, you know.
Great man, Kevin. Fantastic.
And on the committee, you know, committee men and, you know, led Colo running the league and, you know, like...
Of course.
pretty good, you know.
Now, obviously after 70 it was such a great grand final celebration that we forgot that we had a season to play in 71. We didn't even make the finals in 71, did we?
Well,
we just missed out.
Well, it was the four. It was the four then.
Yeah, that's right.
We finished fifth.
That's right.
I mean, Collingwood, who played in the, you know, we were 40 points down the last game. There was games there that we just missed out on the four. Sure. We made the four.
But do you think that...
If we had made the four,
of course,
would have given it a real scare.
Yeah. But do you think that would prove the trigger to say, hey, let's get back in sync and go for 72? Because then all of a sudden in 72, we win the premiership again.
Yeah. Look, it was... I mentioned, we talked about it now, 90s. I meant the reaction of 1970, seriously. I meant Ron Barassi just had to say anything and everyone went,
whatever you want, Ron.
He's exactly right.
Yes, Ron, no, Ron, 3 bags.
I mean, in actual fact, he nearly became bigger than whatever was going on.
Itself.
And look, I probably shouldn't say this, but and I think, you know, some people maybe in the hierarchy may have had the opinion, you know, like Brass was getting all the kudos, you know, like, because he was the Messiah. He was, you couldn't get any bigger. Like, from what happened, 120,000 there, you know, and coming back from 44 points, you know, and then Carlton, Collingwood. I mean, you can't get any...
you can't get any bigger.
You can't get any bigger.
No, that's as big as it gets.
And you can't even imagine it.
No.
Can you imagine
you couldn't even read that script.
That I reckon there was a few that may have been a bit envious or, you know,
jealous,
and because really he should have continued coaching, really. I mean,
of course,
with in hindsight and experience and everything like that, you would think so.
Well, at the end of 72, at the end of 71, Ron took off, and at the end of 72, you had won your 3rd premiership medal under John Nichols as captain coach.
Yep.
And then, of course, you took off and you played your last game for Carlton in that premiership.
Yeah. I went to...
Who would have known?
Well, the 10-year rule came up in that time, you know, and it was a difficult decision, but when there's quite a few clubs that were interested, you had it was the automatic.
So basically, a free agent. Free
agency came in, and that's when everyone, or you know, North Melbourne got their to win their premiership sort of thing. North Melbourne was the first side that spoke to me in that type of thing.
Yeah. And
then Footscray came in.
Yep.
There wasn't a lot of money in football
back then.
So, I mean, without...
They made you an offer you couldn't refuse?
Well, it's along those lines. And, you know...
And look, I like change. Do you feel like you needed a change? New challenge?
I love Carlton. It was just, it was, you know, I liked Bob Rose. You know, he was a fantastic person.
Yep.
And... I enjoyed my 3 years at Footscray, and they were very good to me.
Because you played over 50 games of football there.
Yeah.
What was 165?
Made the finals, which they hadn't done for a long while.
That's true. Yep.
Came runner-up to Gary Dempsey in the best and fairest there, so it was... and then went to North Melbourne.
What number did you wear at Footscray?
17.
17.
Then went to North Melbourne, finished it off in...
One game.
But I think I was lucky to get that. I think it was
that's because Barassi was at North and
I was towards the end.
But Ron basically said, "Hey, come over and help us out."
And with Ray Jordan, who I loved from cricket. You know,
Ray Slug Jordan, what a character!
Played with him at Carlton in
what
cricket.
A character!
And and then I joined them, you know, more or less in the coaching role type thing. And at North, and then went to them with Brass and Slug to Melbourne for the 5 years there, and then did a bit of media work, and then came back to Carlton in 1992, and was on the match
just
committee.
Just when everyone at Carlton thought we'd lost Gags forever, he makes a comeback in the coaches' box.
In the match committee, which I really enjoyed for 10 years. And then...
What was it like? What was it like that sitting in the coach's box with Parkin and Cole Kinnear and
Serge was there.
Serge Silvani in the box as well back in the
Mark
days.
McClure. So it was fantastic. I loved it.
Did they call upon you on match day to for your thoughts or your opinions?
Yeah, I'd mainly watch the opposition and feed in the information from that side of it. Type of thing, and reading the game type of.
So that would have been a bit of a thrill, feeling part of the 95, the
95 premiership, 93 grand final, 99. We've 99 grand final too.
Well, so the prelim would have been a pretty exciting.
The
99
won that one. God, that was the best game.
That was one of the most exciting games of football I think I've ever seen.
Well, same here. I felt that at the time.
I'm sure Rocco agrees.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? I think, unfortunately, we played our game that day.
That's right. I think everyone says that.
We didn't.
Do you know the saddest part about that day?
What was that?
It's been 24 years this year since that day.
Yeah.
Come preliminary final day this year, it'll be 24 years since the 99.
Goes quick, doesn't it?
And ourselves in North Melbourne, who played in the 99 grand final that year, we're the only two clubs that were formed prior to this new century that have not played in a grand final in the year 2000 and anything.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Every other club
has.
That's been formed prior to 2000 has played in a grand final. And in fact, one of them, GWS, was formed in 2012 and they played in a grand final in 2019. So, Gold Coast is the only club that hasn't played in a grand final this century, and they've only been going for 12 years. But Carlton, North Melbourne, the last two teams to play each other, in fact, in 99.
Well, that's why you can't take it for granted.
We're the only ones who haven't played in the grand final since.
I've always said you're fortunate to be at the right time,
So I guess we're just going to close up. Just quick comments about how do you reckon we're going?
Well, from last night, we got beaten by Footscray last night.
Yes, your old club.
Well, my observation is that I don't know why, but they seem to lack confidence in each other, or as a team.
Yep.
I mean,
exactly right.
Which, how do you get that back? Type thing. One, if you reflect on last year, that won the first, quite 9, did quite well. But if you think back on it, we got through a couple of games, which wasn't too bad.
That's right.
This year we've lost those.
Yeah,
we've lost them.
Yeah. Well, even the Richmond and Bulldogs scenario last year, we beat Richmond, we beat the Bulldogs. This year we had a draw with Richmond and we got beaten by the Bulldogs. So it makes you wonder whether we've gone backwards a bit.
It seems that it just appears to me that they lack confidence in each other at the moment. Because you can see flashes of play where you go, gee, we're a good side. So that's what at the moment. So Vossi build up their confidence a bit.
Find it.
Yeah.
Well, Adrian Gallagher, triple premiership player for Carlton, and best and fairest winner in the premiership year of 1970. And by the way, also
and team of the century.
And team of of course, Rover in the team of the century. But also, I believe, leading goal kicker in 1966. Yes. How many goals did you kick?
24.
Obviously, we didn't have a big high-scoring full forward that year.
I think
Kirky Tom Carroll had retired.
Yes.
I think Kuda got leading goal kicker with
97.
With about the same amount of goals.
97 in Kernahan's last year.
20-something goals or something.
Right. Kernahan's last year, he got injured that often that Kuda ended up knocking him off.
Right. There you go.
Leading goal kicker. But look, it was a great career, 165 fabulous games for the club, and kicked a number of goals. How many goals did you kick in the end? Do you remember?
Oh, no. Not really.
A couple of hundred, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 200 and something. Yeah.
But you gave us some great memories, and you forged a magnificent team with Serge Silvani and John Nichols there in the middle, and the three of you are all sitting perfectly next to each other in name there in the Carlton team of the century. And we really appreciate you joining us on Legends of the Jumper Punch today.
No worries, Vince.
And as Rocco says,
now you've got all those accolades, but now you are a legend of the Jumper Punch.
Ooh, thank you very much.
Adrian.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks again, mate.
No worries.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.
And as we always say at the end of one of our shows,
Go Blue!
Go Blue Baggers!
Go Blue!
I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary, I wanna be legendary. Coming out of the gate, I'll be last place, that's alright. I don't work at a fast pace, I'm a steady horse creeping up straight past it. And once I pass you, no one's getting past me. I've seen people hit walls and they stop there. I don't get that mind, man, it sounds scared. Good things take time, better prepare, cause anything great takes pain, it's a fair. Take it from me, cause I got to this place where no one can tell me to do anything. I call my own shots, I call my own place, I enjoy my life.